because not much growth can be achieved unless we do a much more prudent rejigging of the entirety of the budget. Take, for instance, Mr. President, the budget for me is mostly based on debt servicing. If you look at it, you'll notice that the deficit budget is about 2.3 trillion, while the capital expenditure proposed is about 2.2. And in last year's budget, a huge chunk of the 2016 budget was left for external borrowing. But as we speak now, I don't think we're able to bring in $1 to assist the 2016 budget. And therefore, we had to resort to domestic borrowing. And this means that for us to even service the deficit in this budget, we must again engage in domestic borrowing. The effect of domestic borrowing is very clear. Of course, it pushed the treasury bills from what it was to almost 18%. And that encouraged the local bankers and encouraged those within the financial industry in the country, while it did not help the economy at all. So for the 2017 budget proposal, a large chunk will go into servicing debt, payment of salaries, and of course the cost of running governance. This means that capital allocation, like in the last decade, remains almost the same. So we may not see much of infrastructural development in the country, which is what, of course, will actually drive the economy and set the enabling environment for the economy of Nigeria to grow. So the analysis shows that about 1.837 trillion, which represents almost 25.2% of the total budgetary estimate, will be left for debt servicing and 1.8 trillion on personnel costs. This, of course, means that the 2017 budget will rather threaten the economy of the nation and is very troubling. So how can we now term it budget of recovery and budget of growth? Of course, Mr. President, I want to thank the MTF and thank the Senate and National Assembly for pushing even the benchmark price to about 44.5. But for me, that is not enough, because when a country is in recession, in a recession economy, we must do everything to rake in money in order to service the system. So that is one major flaw in the 2017 budget proposal. I'm thinking that with the current situation of things worldwide, that there is no way the oil will not rise to 65% within the year. And I think $65 per barrel within the year. So I'm thinking we should ensure that we even bring more money to the economy by pushing up this benchmark price to something like $50 per barrel. That's not too optimistic, bearing in mind that the cost of producing shale oil by America is about $48. And I think worldwide, they will do everything possible to ensure that they meet up the cost of the production. So, Mr. President, another major flaw that emerges here is the very ambitious increase to 4.9 trillion in the 2017 proposal, particularly when the federal government has failed to meet its revenue target due to low prices in the first quarter of 2016 and disruption of the crude oil production. As of September 2016, we're already down by about 25% in what we projected. And so, government has tried that in the non-oil revenue projection, they have been able to lower it by about 5%. And then, of course, there was a bit of pragmatism exhibited in the aspect of also trying to lower the expected revenue projections in the non-oil sector. But this is all countered by an increase of 140% in federal government's oil revenue projections, and the oil revenue projections cannot be increased by 140% when the indices of oil productions have not been totally countered. For instance, you look at the issue of militancy, the breakages of pipelines, vandalization, and all that. If those issues, yeah? If those issues are not well resolved, there is just no way we can have 140% increase in federal government's oil revenue projection for 2017. So I think this is very ambitious, and if anything happens, it will bring a major shock into the entirety of the system. Then, Mr. President, I want to also suggest that we must find a way to abridge the leader is speaking. I want to also suggest, Mr. President, that we must find a way to harmonize the exchange rates. We can't operate 3 exchange rates and expect the economy to move. This is another thing that is very worrisome, because when we are looking at what is happening now, it's almost like some people are gaining from the 305 naira per dollar, while over there businessmen are doing business at 498 and all that. And at the end, you remember in the 2016, we're looking at 197. So when you look at the 197 naira per dollar, and then you look at the 305, and the budget in 2016 was about 6 trillion. This one is 7 trillion, and that one was based on 197 per dollar, naira per dollar. This one is 305. So really, the budget has actually gone down. We are not putting more money into the system in order to reject the system and bring out the country from inflation. So the false use of inflation alarm in the budget of 2017, insisting that government should not ever adopt quantitative easing coming from the same local holders, talking about mostly the banks and of course their top counterparts in the CBN and then the DMO. This should remind us that there is no way the same beneficiaries of the trillions that we use on debt servicing can allow the government to pay off the debts. They would rather insist that these debts remain. So there is no doubt that serious inflation is bad for the economy. But then there are 2 types of inflation, the healthy and unhealthy types of inflation. The healthy inflation is the one that is caused by economic expansion and of course modernization of the infrastructure as a result of diversification of the economy, and this of course will warrant massive public spending. But of course the unhealthy one is the one that we put strictly into servicing of debts, and that will lead to stagnation and inflation. Mr. President, you are aware of this. So why stagflation? Is because we are over 95% import dependent as of now. We are just about to produce toothpick in Nigeria. So 95% of what we bring in is import dependence. There is no way the economy can grow, importing virtually everything that we consume. So the cost of borrowing, if not well addressed, will affect the infrastructural development of the country. So if we are sincere about reducing inflation, we should do much work in ensuring that the very high cost of doing business in Nigeria is taken into consideration. Mr. President, I want to say that it took us over 3.7 trillion to service domestic debt, while it took us just about 214 billion to service external debt, because that, of course, is cheaper. But if what we borrowed in 2016 to fund the economy was 95% from just domestic, that means the reality is that Nigeria is now in a deeper hole than we expected. And so how can we recover when we have sunk into a much deeper hole in 2016? And then the 2017 is also depend. The projection that we are going to borrow to service this economy is based on external borrowing. But the external borrowing never came. We did not receive $1. And so we ended up with domestic borrowing up to 95%. So this time around, if we go the same way, I believe that